fun things happen with the paper. You never quite know. And then suddenly you find yourself like going, oh my God, what's going on? And then you're going to get even darker because you've got the next layer of your landscape coming up. It's going to have a bit more.
I'm just wondering. I don't know.
I just kind of mix color until I think, yeah, that's kind of like. And you see how there's kind of yellow streaks where the sun hits it. So you kind of want. So I'm just gonna come down and I'm gonna do a darker one that just like comes down like that. Yeah, and it might need to pump that pigment a bit more.
Yeah.
And then each time you're getting closer, you're adding more warm colors, and you're adding more pigment. Yeah. So then now, and then you sort of play with it. Yeah. And if you stop for a minute, you can start seeing. See how sometimes these look like trees. That looks like that's in the background. This is coming into the foreground. So then what you might want to do is you're just gonna, you're gonna do another. Yeah, and then you just kind of let it. You never go back on what you've done. You can do hundreds of these, and 10 of them out of 100 will look half decent. The other 90 you can throw out. And then what I would do, I want something really. I'm gonna do something kind of outrageous. I'm gonna put in this sort of maybe a budding. Let's get some really. See that kind of light color. I'm gonna just do something really bold.
I'm following your bold, so here we go.
Just follow the bold. And you never quite know where it's going. Sometimes I just do goofy stuff. But what you're doing is you're building up here. So you've got your far away and it's getting increasingly. So you might have a lot of, and then you might want to, the eye is going to probably go to these, see how you've kind of, like everything is always contrast, light, dark, dark, light, dark. Everything is always defined by that. I'm not quite sure where this one's going, but that's okay.
You're bringing more darks in?
I'm kind of just creating some interest in the foreground. And then I'm going to bring a little bit of dark in. Yep, don't get too precious. And then you see there's something, this is irritating the eye because it's trying to read the background in the background. So you might want to put another something in the foreground to before that dries.
Yeah. Okay.
And you can just have fun with what you're going to do there. And I am going to put it better. I'm going to put some. Front of this, the. So what you're experimenting with is wet on wet, wet on dry.
Okay, so where's your darkest green on this?
Right there, and I added in a bit of black.
Okay, so did you start with?
So I'm just going to stop there because we don't need to do more than that, but as an experiment, because what we're trying to demonstrate is that's wet on wet, that's wet on wet.
Yeah.
And you've created that kind of soft, pushes it back. There's a bit of wet on dry, and that's dry on dry.
Yeah.
So you've created a kind of, and where your eye goes is right in here, because that's the darkest and the lightest.
Yeah.
So, and the rest of it is all just pushed back into it. So what you're trying to do with anything,
I want this to
is-
dry so I can put darks here.
yeah, and what you can do, yeah, you can sometimes, what I sometimes do is I'll lift off a bit of pigment. Sometimes I'll do this, and you can send that pigment back up to where you want it darkest. There. That, moving your paper around to create that kind of little,
Yeah.
see what I mean? So what you might want to do is, and you can also lift off, give me your brush for a minute.
It's a lot of color on it. I was
Oh,
waiting.
a lot of color, darn, never mind. You can actually, if you had a dry brush, you can, I would, and all, the other thing you can do is just touch, you can touch things, and that color will
Spread.
spread. So if you want to create, you know, like,
Oh,
see what I mean?
Yeah. A little more detail.
yeah, and you just pull out the detail so that it suddenly looks like trees or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So keep doing that, and then do it upside down, and then you might even then want to dry it, and then you actually put a dry
I was
on dry.
gonna go for a little darker.
Yeah. Yeah. The eye loves it when there's a progression from light to dark, dark to light. So if you're ever drawing any line that's all the same color is a boring line. Anytime you've got a line that changes color, it's more interesting. So sometimes what I do is I take a bit of water and I might drop it in just to create a bit more variation in that so the eye's reading. It just sparkles then. You want things to sparkle a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. So keep hanging it up.
Hang it up.
Yeah.
And then if I were to put dark in, where would you put dark?
Sort of similar to, you see how that kind of spruce against the the darks kind of are in the
Or within?
yeah,
this?
they're within it, but I would wait till it dries.
Okay. So dry on dry. So move
Yeah,
to
I
dry
would
on
do
dry.
dry on dry there.
Okay.
Because you've got a lot of nice movement in the background, but you might just want to, like what I would do is I would actually keep
Dotting.
the light bushes in the foreground. I would put a bit more dark. I would pull out the shape of, you see how there's kind of layers and you have those first layer and then it's dark in between. The dark defines the next shrubs.
Yeah.
So you've got an area that you can actually,
Work with.
I mean, you could do a little bit. You could pick it out. You could sort of put some dark in here and pick out that, you know, that accentuates the shrubs in the foreground. That would work, but I'd be painting it upside down.
Okay, so once this dries,
Yeah,
gonna go
you could
in.
even just start now because it's starting to dry.
Goes to an iris melody.
And it doesn't need to be, yeah, doesn't need to, that would probably mix it a bit with that. Yep. Yeah.
and pull in from here.
Yeah, sort of just little bits like you could pull in there. That's it. And then just imagine that you're creating the shapes of the bush, but not too much because it's
Still wet.
you got some lots of nice stuff going there. Yeah, I would pause there.
Yeah, because there's.
whatever you want to do is you don't want to overpaint and you don't want to overkill. Often less is better. And then try this one. You might want to try a little bit on this one. Yeah, as if you were, yeah. Yeah, don't do too much more. And then, because what you find is that your eye suddenly reads it and you start reading. It's like, oh yeah, you're pushing and you're sort of creating this. Yeah. Yeah, and then maybe in the foreground you'll create. See, look at this tree. What that is yellow ochre with pushing something back. So you often can create, like when you've got something like that, you just create like trunks, and then there's shadows underneath the. See how there's dark? There's foreground. Yeah. All those shrubs, it's light, and then it's dark, and there's light again. And
so if you were creating a trunk, would you create like more of a solid line?
I would leave another little, like there's your shrub there. I would pull out some shrubs and do some.
And would that be that would be darker?
That would be darker. See, that would be dark. That would be dark. That would be. Okay. And you could start doing that now. And you kind of, this one I'm kind of just going to leave, because it's kind of, sort of, yeah. But when you're doing it, think about that, like think about the negative space, right? So make that a nice trunk.
So like really make that line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like work hard on that line. Right?
Yeah.
Because then you find, so what's happening now is you can't overpaint.
Okay.
Because if you overpaint, you start lifting pigment off. So it just,
let it go.
Yeah. But you get the idea, right? So let's.
I want to bring darken to the other side and kind of do what you did here with.
Yeah. And then what you can do is, you see how there's shadow under the trunk? So then when it's all dry, you just put a little bit of blue here, and then that pushes the trunks back a little bit where they don't catch light.
Yeah.
And then the other sort of jumps forward. And you've just created, like pull it back, right?
Yeah.
You got a little landscape going. And it's not too fussy, and it's not too, it's kind of got you get this kind of little energy going. Yeah. Because you've left a lot for the eye to play with. Hi. Painting by numbers.
Instead of Rob Ross, it's Briony Penn.
But remember, don't go too crazy, because remember, nothing is the same color from top to bottom. Nothing. Everything is it's constantly changing. So it's dark at the top, but then it gets light at the bottom. So that's silhouetted, but it gets lighter and lighter. So you want, you want to put a bit more. But you're going to be.
No, there's going to be too much.
Yeah, you're going to be in danger of overpainting in a minute.
That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's such a tendency to want to fuss away at things. I often just do it and leave it. And then you can come back and go, oh yeah, I just add a few little accents here and there. But mostly you just want most of your painting to be the middle tone, and then just have one little focus.
Yeah.
It's that central focus of darkest dark, lightest light. See, what I want is your eye to go right here.
And it does.
It does. And I want you to go into that painting and have an emotional feeling. Because you've kind of gone there, and you just kind of imagine yourself disappearing into a landscape. And it's just, it's the fact that you can go through there, and it's just where you get that contrast is where you grab people's emotional center. It's why waterfalls are so powerful. White black.
Yeah.
Boom. And it's why people love prairie, you know, like boom, boom. There's this huge contrast. Or people like the light in temperate rainforests. They get that shaft of light. We're really sensory beings. Yeah, that's right. You just you just push it out a bit. And if I were you, I would get my brush and I would just join it up a little bit so that it just
feels connected.
feels a little bit connected.
And then, yeah, and so you start from there, and then
Yeah, because these now are a little bit
if you're
disconnected.
interested in any detail and ask more questions, you end up explaining how, like,
Yeah. See, that works now
Yeah.
because see how the eye, but you've created your highest contrast.
Yeah.
On,
Not
way
not
over
in our
the-
spot. Yeah.
yeah, whereas I created my center contrast. You always want to do it
So you can look at the center.
on the lower third or the upper third,
Okay.
but not in the middle and not way over on the side.
and they don't have the same history of, like,
It's super simple,
well, in some ways,
but it's
old
just
man beard, like, you know,
it's how you convey that. And you see how you build up, you go from your blues, this atmosphere is just watered, all color down. Farther you go, the bluer it is. So you're just painting water until you get up into, and then you start bringing in your yellows. So you've done that. But you see how this was wet on wet, and then you added quite a wet, and
Yeah.
so that
So,
water
yeah.
flooded into the drying thing. This is a great way to make, you know, like landscapes of trees, because look, you don't even have to paint the damn trees.
Yeah.
It looks like trees there.
Okay.
Yeah,
I can do that.
you can do that. You just have to start going and experimenting now, and just thinking. Honestly, do 100 of these, so you don't get fussy.
Yeah, you just get comfortable with it.
You just get comfortable
If
and
you
you're
were
playing.
creating a landscape looking at the ocean and there were rocks, would it be the same thing? So
Yes,
like
you paint the rocks right at the end.
so
whereas
if I'm
if you say ladybug, it's all one word.
Yeah, try a
Yeah,
ocean landscape.